How's it going, Jets fans? My name is Alex with my co-host here, Ryan Moran. And today we want to discuss an interesting trade concept for Kansas City Chiefs offensive tackle Orlando Brown. And if it makes sense for the Jets to try and acquire him via trade and plug that offensive tackle spot once and for all. We don't know what Mekhi Becton is going to be coming off the injury. I wouldn't necessarily categorize him as injury prone. I think it was kind of he got rolled up on and obviously missed some time there last season. But at the end of the day, Orlando Brown is one of the best tackles in football. He would be a legitimate left tackle or right tackle for you for the next several years. Obviously, you have to come to an agreement with him on an extension, but the Jets have plenty of money moving forward where they can, really extrapolate on that rookie window of the quarterback position. But Orlando Brown's interesting, man. This is going to be an interesting discussion to have if it's worthwhile trading for him, Ryan. But before we dive into this package deal and what you would be willing to give up, or if you wouldn't be willing to give up anything at all, how you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing great, Alex. So I think when you look at the Jets offensive tackle position right now, with the way George Fant played last year, the hope that Mekhi Becton could get back to what he did his rookie year, I think it's for the first time in a long time, like the best tackle duo that the Jets have had. And, a tandem that Jets fans can really feel good about. Obviously, Orlando Brown, I think, is probably a top 12 or so left tackle in the NFL. So you could definitely make that valid argument. I think he's still only 26 years old as well. So he's definitely young, like you said, and has years of experience down the line. But I think, the way I see it personally, logistically, it doesn't necessarily add up at this point in time for the Jets and where they're at. But, there's definitely some valid points that we could both make, on each side of the spectrum. When you talk about a young player at a premium position who could, like you said, just give Zach Wilson a potential upgrade.
Right. Look, Orlando Brown is a stud. He's going to probably provide more value than Mekhi Becton immediately because Becton, we just don't know what he is right now. Obviously, rookie season was pretty solid. A lot of upside. He's a humongous human being. He can carve out running lanes. The question is, can he hold up in pass protection? How is that knee? Is he overweight right now? Can he get to a proper weight and size for the start of the regular season? I think all those probably are he's capable of accomplishing. But I will say that you go for the proven guy, or do you want to go for the guy that you spent a really high draft pick on that has still is on the rookie deal and has a lot of upside? Personally, right off the bat, I'm going to say that I would not do this trade, mainly because I think that Becton is worthwhile to invest in and just kind of give him the opportunity to prove that he can lock down a starting tackle position. Look, he's on his rookie deal. The upside is there for him to be just as good as Brown, if not better. So I think you have to give the coaches a chance to try and get the most out of him. And if it doesn't work out, then maybe you try and trade him after this season. But Brown, let's go through what a mock trade would probably look like for him, just to get an idea of what it would take the Jets to actually acquire him. So right off the bat, you're looking at his stats last year. He gave up 6 sacks, 45 total pressures, really good pass blocker, pretty solid run blocker as well. Played 1,337 snaps at left tackle last season. The first 2 years in the NFL played predominantly at right tackle, split time at left tackle and right tackle in 2020 with Baltimore. But locked it down for Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes last season. Did have 7 penalties, which is actually absurd. He had pretty good grades, but did give up a couple sacks and had a lot of trouble in the penalty category, which is something that obviously he needs to correct, but could just be him, transitioning to a new team, new scheme, and just having a little bit of trouble adapting. But otherwise played pretty well. 6'8", 345-pound guy, huge person, and 26 years old. He's still extremely young, and he's going to get a big contract extension worth maybe, I don't know, $17 to $20 million per year, probably something in that range. A package for Orlando Brown would probably be something like Mekhi Becton and I don't know. What do you think? A first round pick? And
I
Mekhi
would think
Becton?
so. When you look at what the Chiefs gave the Ravens last year, I want to say it was a first and a second. So
Okay, so a first and a second. You're looking at probably Mekhi Becton, because Becton right now his value is probably a second round pick. Because coming off the injury, 2 seasons, he's got, I guess, 3 years left if you include his 5th year rookie option. I'd say that his value is probably around a mid to a little high end second round pick there. So a first round pick and a second round and Mekhi Becton makes sense. But again, do you really want to give up Becton in his rookie contract? Do you really want to give up on his potential? I don't think he's an injury prone player. I just think he got unlucky being rolled up on last year. What is your perspective on that? And is there any realm where you could justify trading for Orlando Brown?
I don't think so, honestly. Just looking house, like I said, with the 2 tackles the Jets have, it's really the best in quite some time. And look, we've obviously discussed George Fant and his contract that's on the horizon. To me, that should really be the first priority in terms of, offensive tackles and giving out big contracts. Keep a guy who was your best player last year. To me, continuity is important. Obviously you spoke on the offensive line coach and someone like John Benton and what he was able to do with Fant in just 1 year. I think you want to continue to really see that, have more time, allow them to gain more experience together. And with Becton, I mean, like you said, his stock isn't really what it was around this time last year after the injury. I agree that was just a tough play that happened last year, but his rookie year, he was out sporadically, so I think that's really the injury concerns that people have more or less was just the rookie year and some of the missed time throughout that season. So I think Becton should be motivated to come back, whether who's at left tackle or right tackle, we'll obviously find out when training camp kicks off here within the next 2 weeks. But to me, I like Fenton Becton, and it's not really worth, you look at even the salary cap where the Jets are at in 2023. Right now, they're at like under 15 million. So I'm not even so sure that you would be able to fit in Brown's contract. And to me, just keep what you have. You can really feel good about Fenton Becton, and I want to just continue to really see them in this LaFleur Benton offense here.
Right, and the contract is kind of is another big question mark for me, right? The Jets currently have 9.6 million in salary space, and Becton, or rather, Brown is on a $16.6 million franchise tag, I believe, if they tag him. But 2023, the Jets have only 11 million. They have a couple of guys they can cut to open up salary space, like Mosley, or even Corey Davis. Save 10.5 million there, and Mosley would save 15 mil. So you can open up some cash flow there to get a guy like Brown. But again, you're probably giving up your first round pick, Becton, who are both, one of those guys, actually both of them would be on rookie contracts, so they're rather cheap. So, I think that you're right in the sense that it's not very realistic, but at the same time, you look at the contract he was asking for from the Chiefs, and you think the Chiefs are about to give him a 6-year, 139 million deal. He turned this down. That's 23 million per season. The offer included a signing bonus of 30.25 million and 95 million in the first 5 years. But Brown's agent basically was like, we enjoy dealing with the Chiefs and we understand their position, but I'm not going to let these athletes sign a flashy contract without the substance or security there. So the money was really high in terms of average per season, but it didn't look like they offered a lot of guarantees. I think 30 million in a signing bonus, which is guaranteed money. So, low guarantees, but high average per year. They could have got out of it pretty easily without that much dead cap space. He wants to lock up that guaranteed money as much as possible. Look, if he's making, he's probably going to be like, look, I'd rather take a $20 million per year, but have $100 million in guaranteed money. So I think that's kind of where he's coming from in terms of why he wants the security of if he gets injured, if he gets cut, he still has guaranteed money for years. And I think that that's kind of where the Jets would run into problems because they are locked into a couple of big contracts with Carl Lawson. And, they can, like I said, they can release some guys, but I ultimately don't think that it's a worthwhile expenditure, especially because you have to give up Becton, who has a ton of potential left, and you have to give up your first round draft pick next year. And the Jets are going to have weaknesses. It's not going to be like a situation where their team is fully built. So how important do you think that first round pick is for next season?
100%. I mean, the Jets, like you said, the salary cap space next year might not be as much as it was in 2021 when you got Carl Lawson and Corey Davis. Obviously, this year, Jets signed a ton of guys the first, period of free agency. So to me, that's just really going to, intensify the importance of the draft. And, as you want to see Zach Wilson command that big second contract, it's just going to make the value of the draft that much more important. So to me, that first round pick next year could be very important. You look at potential needs that the Jets could have. Obviously, stopping the run defensively is something we've talked about, is a really big concern with this team that, they still got to prove this year and, might be a big need next year. So to me, you keep draft picks. As good as Brown is, someone of his caliber, I just think at this point in time, where the Jets are at as a young team and really some of the moves they made this offseason. And, like we said, the two tackles that they have in Fenton Becton, to me, have a lot of potential, to really give the Jets offense what it needs this year.
Absolutely. But guys, I'd love to hear perspectives below on the YouTube channel. Make sure to drop a comment about this prospective player trade. If you would do it, Ryan and I are in agreement here that it's probably not the best idea. You go with Becton, you try to get the most out of him, you coach him up, let him get another chance at this starting gig. You know he's got the size, he's got the talent to be an elite offensive lineman. It just takes a little bit more consistency and continuity in terms of the injury department and just good coaching. And again, like Robert Saleh and these guys, they didn't even have an opportunity to really coach him up last year. This is his first year with them, and he got injured almost immediately. So it's like, we need to see more. But I still have a lot of faith and hope that he can be a pretty solid player for this team moving forward. But I am excited to see what he can do. And I don't think Orlando Brown is necessarily a necessity because he's going to cost you a leg and an arm and guaranteed money. The Jets could afford it theoretically, but again, it's so much money and they have to give up their first round draft pick. And the Jets, they're probably going to be, I'd say, an average team. And then this has always been my projection, average team. And then in year 3 of the rebuild, they're going to be a playoff team. So they're probably going to be drafting the 15 to 16 range this upcoming draft in 2023, which I think will be a good spot for them to plug maybe a hole at safety. They got Jordan Whitehead, but maybe they want to get another one. And then, of course, you maybe want to get an offensive, maybe you want to get a center, maybe you want to draft a center, maybe you want to draft a guard. I know, Laken Tomlinson, Elijah Vera Tucker are pretty solid, so I wouldn't necessarily think that that's a necessity there. But, that offense is pretty solid, actually. Look, I'm trying to think of every position. What position do they actually need? Maybe they get after a young corner who could compete with DJ Reed if he doesn't have a great season. Maybe you go after another linebacker. I'd say linebacker's a big one. CJ Mosley, if they cut him, they get a young linebacker in the middle of the first round who can go and plug that position. That makes a lot of sense to me. So I do think that first round pick is extremely valuable, and trading it away with Becton just to sign a guy to a monster contract might be a little ballsy. So that's my perspective. Love to hear your thoughts below in the YouTube comment section. Make sure to like and subscribe as always, and we'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Jets episode.